Hey guys, I'm FatBuddyCat. Did you ever think that at any point in your life you would need to find it completely necessary to modify your own torque converter? Well, me neither. Not until I enrolled at Microbikology. Alright guys, our first move is pretty much standard procedure. We're going to need to pop the hood. Get that cover off. Get up in there. I removed my 3 8mm bolts that are holding this on. We'll remove it. And here's what we're working with. Okay, now what we're looking for, or what I'm used to looking for, would be belt particulate, atomizations of rubber. Well, you know, safe to say we weren't spinning too much against that thing. Really safe. This belt is like brand new, guys. This cover's been on here for what, 3 different test sessions now. Nothing's loose. Wow. Cool. That's a good sign, guys. I didn't notice a lot of pinging or anything. Like I said, the way this adapter is designed and the way the spacers work, it gives you your ideal alignment. So, we got an option. Let me show you what we're working with. Alright guys, and besides every single one of my flywheels, another thing that I go to OMB Warehouse for is my torque converter parts, and typically my torque converters in general, minus the juggernaut. Okay, so I went on over there and I got the real deal. Okay, these are the Comet aluminum weights, and right here we have a set of springs, and I have a really cool chart to show you. Also in the box, we have a breather filter, some more gaskets, and that is our 9-tooth sprocket for our torque converter. Alright, so you kind of probably figured out the game plan. And what I mean by options is, should we just jump the gun? Or should we try to see that if by adding a 9-tooth sprocket to our 54 makes a difference? Okay, that would give us a 6-to-1 on our gears and leave everything else up to the torque converter. Well, I think we might as well see if we can fit it on there anyway. I don't know how much chain I have. Check this move out. I switched over to just using my one ratchet set instead of messing around with the whole toolbox. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I put this, yeah, you see that? That's been on there with the cover for multiple days and all that testing, and I didn't need to use an impact driver. Just twist this out. And we'll take it apart. See how far that goes on? How nicely machined it is? Okay, there's our belt. Next thing, guys, I'm just gonna grab a socket or a wrench if my sockets aren't big enough and get this pulley off. Alright guys, on the back one I did have to hit it with the old torque gun, and I just held the pulley and gave it a quick, you know, brap brap, and was able to twist it off. I put these on with a big wrench, big crescent wrench usually when I set them, but they don't really have to be all that tight, especially if you have a good nylock nut. Alright, now you can either drop your chain before or at this point. I just wanted to make a few more observations, make sure I had the right sprocket before I went any further. I'll take that chain off. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I'm working on my mini bikes, I actually enjoy using like the little toolkit tools. I don't know why. Maybe it's just like reminiscent of being a kid again, but hey, they work. You might as well use them. So next thing, I'll just get my link off, and it could be a little snug. Yep, I'm gonna have to two-hand that. There we go. Just like that, our chain is off. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna inspect is my tensioner. I can already tell the wheel is a little tight. All I have to do is ease up. I just sent it home a little too far. See, that'll turn into an uneven wear mark. And eventually what that'll do is it'll warp the path that the chain has to go over. And it just makes kind of an irritating noise. So we'll address that when we adjust the chain. We can try to get it back on. Since we're going from a 10 to a 9, it should fit right on, and hopefully we can pull the engine forward enough to make up for the difference. Hopefully. We will. It'll work. And now we just make sure you don't have any washers or anything on this end you're going to lose. Alright, so our nut came off. Now our pulley's going to come off. Okay, there's our key. Don't lose that. Just be aware of where everything is. We'll clean this up. The bearings feel good. There's our other key back there. Okay, so next thing, we're just going to take this sprocket off and put our new one on. Alright, and right off the bat, we are into decision making time. One thing is not like the other. As a matter of fact, it's complete opposite. You guys see that? This one is keyed. This one has a key way. We can still make it work. Plus, we kind of make out on the situation. Check this out. Typically, this key here, right, that was in our pulley, this would pass through. Alright, and it would go into that spacer right there. And that just kind of sandwiches everything together, but at the same time it keeps everything spaced accordingly. Alright, that would work with that. With our new sprocket, where it already has the key in it, we don't need a keyed bushing on this side because our key is not going to pass through the sprocket. That's our reward, because we're going to need that for something else. I'm going to go ahead and replace that with a 5/8 bushing or two. Let me see how thick they are. Okay guys, so we're looking like a 2-to-1 ratio. So we'll keep that little trophy and we'll put these on our shaft. Alright, our bushings are on. Next thing, we'll put our 9-tooth sprocket. I also noticed that the profile of this sprocket is slightly different. One of them is number 40, the other one's 41/420. Might as well be number 40, it's gonna work, so we're gonna make this happen. Okay, so we've already determined that we're not going to be able to use this key because we'll be into our threaded section now. Okay? Something I do, might as well take that one with us, is, here's my OMB crank holding tool, and I always keep spare keys around that tool. That way I know they're there. Look at it, I even have this big long one here. So I chose one of my mid-size pieces. We'll see if that fits. Hey, there's that toolkit. Back over at our torque converter. Here's the new key. Okay, and it stops, you know, about a 1/4 inch before the thread. But we'll get all that pulley on there. We'll have plenty. And with our chain on, just as expected, it's loose. So now, before I do anything with the tensioner, I'm just going to loosen the 4 nuts and bolts on the bottom. See if I can't slide this thing forward a skosh. Alright guys, and here's life from my point of view. You can see this Doodlebug has had a couple engine swaps. These were for the original. These holes here are for an adjustable plate. And the ones that we're currently using are the Predator 212 layout. Alright, however, we're not getting enough in the back. So, where it's just these 4 bolts, the chain, and maybe cutting a couple zip ties for right now, I'm going to try to take this motor, this plate, everything right off, right? Set it next to the bike and expand our slot. Alright guys, so new revelations. The motor is safely over there on a stool, and here's the holes that we were using. Not the worst, not the best. That one's kind of terrible. We could fix those, or we could make use of these 4 holes that are safely placed away from all the other ones and conveniently surrounded by a little more cyborg meat. And we're just going to go ahead and slap on one of our OMB warehouse billet adjustable plates. The reason I didn't in the first place, trying to save a little bit of weight. This isn't all that much, but it was more for fitment of the gas tank and such. We're running a 3x8 spun aluminum. We're not worried about that anymore. We're going to use a plate. For that, we're going to need some hardware. I always save mine when I'm done using these. Okay, and here is the hardware that goes with the plate. The short ones go on the bottom and hold the plate on. The long ones are going to go on first. They're going to stick up like studs, and that's what we're going to lower. our other plate onto. Alright, and this is the hardware. The short bolt is going to be used to hold the billet plate onto the stock engine mount. Alright, before those go on, you got to put the long ones through, and those are going to stick up like studs, and those are going to receive our torque converter riser. Believe it or not, they do have a front and an upside down. A little tip with these swap plates, guys. In between swaps, if you're going to reuse these plates, when you take them off, I run a file through mine. Alright, and I get off any burrs from the use before. That way when you're doing your next motor installation, you're not dealing with that stuff. It's like brand new again. Okay, and I just have those set with nuts underneath, barely threaded on, so I can move this plate around just in case one of my studs falls down through one of the holes from one of the prior swaps. I'm going to put the motor on the studs and loosely tighten that down. I think I have to use shorter studs. Yep. Grrr. Alright, now I'm just going to be flipping the studs so that the small ones are coming through the top and replacing the bottom ones with bolts that fit in. Alright, now here's what I have. The reason for doing the flip on this, guys, is because I don't think I would be able to get the nuts, let alone the other studs, into this crevice on the other plate. See if these work. Okay, I have that on there. This next part's going to kind of, you know, it's one of those things. Anyways, I'm going to keep all my hardware and stuff together, so if I ever have to put a motor on, I know where it's at. Guys, the great thing about the OMB Warehouse fully adjustable billet plate is that you also get side-to-side action. Yay! Remember that ½ inch that I made up for when I flip-flopped the sprocket and we cut this off? And yeah, well, lo and behold, I wasn't planning on using one of those plates, guys, alright? So, here's what it is. We get that wheel off. We're going to get that ½ inch back. We're going to gain it on the foot peg. Totally worth it. Don't mess around. And see, it's just like flipping the sprocket, guys. Alright? It could just be those 6 bolts. Alright? However, if you want to have nice stuff, you got to go the extra mile. We don't want those nuts just hanging out like that. Right? So we're going to flip those over too. I got my wheel back on, my sprocket where I want it to be. Next thing we're going to do is put the chain on so that we can align it side to side. And in doing so, we're also going to have to make an adjustment on the tensioner. Really not that difficult. We're just going to be using a longer bolt and adding another spacer to the situation. See what I mean, guys? Not a huge deal. I just put on the longer bolt. There's 4 washers that I was using before, and then that is the ½ inch spacer to make up for the ½ inch that we gained out back. There you go. Really not that bad. Once that's all tightened up, grade 8, strong stuff. Okay, I got my chain on. I'll put my master link, and then I'll scoot the engine forward just so it's snug. Then we'll find where our chain is aligned. we'll tighten that down first. I'll show you how. First, I stand over it like we're changing out a toilet. Grab my motor, I pull it forward, and then I look down here and I try to get the chain right in between the pulley and the plate. Okay, I pretty much have my side to side figured out. Alright, now I'm going to take a marker and I'm going to make a reference point on top of my billet plate. Just like that. Alright, that way when I lean the bike over and I'm down there tightening this thing up, I just have to look at that line. I don't have to worry about what else is going on. Alright, now while using that line for your reference point, I like to tighten down my two back ones first. If your two front ones are easier for you, go ahead and do those. Alright, so I'm all tightened down. My side to side is fixed. Now all we have to do, pull the motor forward to where our chain has the right tension on it. And we'll tighten down the 4 nuts on the bottom. Okay, and at this point, we're going to go ahead and assemble everything, give it a test ride. Alright guys, we're outside with the 9-tooth modification. Got a fresh GPS. Let's see what we can do. That was smooth. But it was only 17 miles an hour for some reason. There, I held on to it a little bit longer. Alright, now we're getting 19 and 4. Alright, last night we were 19 and 7, I believe. Alright, I think we got it back. Let's just smash out a top speed run. something on the downhill, but we're still getting 22. But our average is up to 10 from 9. What do you know? Let's get over to that hill. Might as well take it through Beaver Canyon real quick. No sweat. Spinning tire. We'll do the hard one first. I'm a whopper, 235 pounds. Should side hill like nothing. Right up. Really good engine braking. Alright guys, let's get back inside. Well, that really wasn't that bad at all. I was looking down. You can almost see the line. We were getting up there higher in the driven unit. Okay? With the 9-tooth and running a 6-to-1, we're on kind of a torque ratio. So we are going to be top speed limited. We're not too concerned about that. I mentioned, I think it was 9 miles per hour was coming up for our average. The reason being, we're getting a way better takeoff. This thing is engaging a lot higher and holding the RPM. All right, that's what we need it to do. The next modification, guys, it's gonna be right here. Let's get that driver off there. All right, so the cool part here is all you have to take off is this. If we ever want to change back to the 10-tooth, we didn't cut the chain. We have all the adjustment we need. All we have to do is take off our pulley, swap out our sprocket, put our pulley back on, and then use the 4 bolts at the bottom to adjust it back and forth. Love these plates. Okay, so now we have our driver. We're going to take this off. And this is what we're going to be after. These weights and these springs. Alright, so I assume we're dealing with some sort of tension. Whether it's high tension or it's a spring. I don't want it in my eyeball. I'm going to put some goggles on. And I'm going to use my flathead screwdriver to remove the first spring. I'm just going to roll it over the face here. I'll probably, hold it with a couple fingers like that. Alright guys, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. First I was going to just pull the spring out over the weight, but now I'm thinking I could put the screwdriver in between the two weights, alright? And they separate a little bit easier than I thought. I'm going to put it down on my bench right here, which is just a chair. Actually, I'm going to use my knee. And I'm going to spread the weights and try to see if they come apart from the driver. Maybe I'll do it this way. Okay, there. Boom. Came right off, okay? Just like that. Alright, so as the pieces are multiplying on my bench, this is what we're left with. Alright? At this point, I'm going to be using my screwdriver, and I'm going to roll those springs off. Okay, let's give this a shot. So, screwdriver, weight, spring. I'm going to try to get it up under the spring. Okay, I'm under, see? Alright, now I'm just going to roll. Oh, let me get that again. Same thing. I'm under a little bit more. Now I'm going to roll the spring along the screwdriver and over the weight. Just like that. There's one. And there's two. Alright. Round of applause. Okay. I've gone forth and set up a second bench and pulled out a scale. First up, these are the stock zinc weights. 11 ounces. And these are the Comet aluminum weights. 5.2 ounces. Less than half. Alright, well I guess we should have gone forth with the reading material first, because this tells us how much our weights weigh right here. Okay? This is official like a whistle, guys. Check this out. We were using zinc weights, alright? And stock springs, which are the blue springs. Alright? So, our current engagement that we've been using is 2200 RPM. Okay? Now, in switching to the aluminum weights, running that blue spring, our engagement is going to change to 3300. Alright? 2200, we know, is roughly, I'd say, 700 to 800 RPM below maximum usable horsepower. Alright? And that would be sort of for the stock motor. Now, we're not in stock format, but I would think the closer we get to that 3,000 to 3,500 mark, that we're going to engage with a higher horsepower and hopefully be able to bring this number up. Okay, so we'll engage at 33, and if all goes well, we'll be able to access the extra horsepower that this motor is going to have available from the added RPM. Alright, that's what we're going with. This also has some things about those driven springs, but we haven't touched that yet. This is a Comet, you can see it better there, blue spring. Alright, so these should actually be the same as these ones here. So we're going to be ordering more. Alright, I think we're going to try maybe some lighter ones. I really don't think we're going to need heavier than 33. Worst case scenario, guys, is this thing doesn't have the meat and potatoes and falls on its face at 3300. Meaning it engages and then just blah, 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 blah. Doesn't really do much of anything. Or it's going to engage really hard and could wheelie. Or maybe it'll just engage really high and smoother and faster and be more responsive because we're using aluminum instead of zinc. Is that a possibility? Maybe. Something to consider. These don't go apart like this, all right? They separate directly from one another. Where these are heavier, these would take less centrifugal force to push the springs, all right, and spread apart. With these should really have to spool up, all right? They're going to have to hit a higher RPM in order to separate and push against the spring. So we might get better throttle response. Let's get the springs on there. Okay, so all you do is loop the springs, and I just gave mine a little pinch on one of the hooks on the end. I had one that was pretty open. Next thing, I'm just gonna put the spring over the weight, use my screwdriver, and pull it on. I don't even think I need my screwdriver. I think I can pretty much see? I don't need no stinking screwdriver. Alright, and I just made sure that my springs weren't set right where the two weights come together, and then I put them opposite of each other. I'm not sure if that's a thing, but that's how I did it. Alright, so I just used a flathead screwdriver to keep them separated so that the space between the weights was just bigger than the sleeve that I was going over. Slid right on. Now I'll just pull out the screwdriver. Next, this piece goes like that. It's ready to go back on the bike. A lot easier than I thought. I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a lot of fun with Microbikology. With these little motors and the response that we get from them with the modifications, it leaves a lot of opportunity to learn and have fun while doing it. So I'm really into this. But all we gotta do, hold on to my driver, use my 1/2-inch ratchet, tighten that bolt. We're going for a ride, guys. Alright guys, fresh GPS. This is with the aluminum weights and the 9-tooth. there we go. 22 uphill. All right, that's not bad, guys. Average 6. Let's rip this thing, see what it can do. It sounds amazing. There's 23. Just gotta learn how to ride it. Guys, okay, and these are not perfect conditions. Let's test out some other things. Okay, let's try these off-road capabilities. Take it right down the gulch across Beaver Creek. Safe crossing. Bear Mountain. that's a success. Alright guys, now that was impressive. And I'll tell you what, our little Predator 79cc is absolutely loving our new engagement level. Just over 3,000 RPM, we're making usable power. We're putting it to the ground. One thing I have to do is turn up the idle. I'm getting a little bit of buildup, which causes hesitation if you just jam the throttle off the line. Doesn't do it every time. Just if I do like a walk around, or if I leave the bike sitting for 30 seconds or so, if you ease into it, it doesn't even do it. It's just when you go get some. So we'll turn the idle up and burn the excess fuel off before we launch. We should be okay. Other than that, guys, there's a couple more things that we can do internally, and there's also a spark plug modification that we're going to be looking at. Oh, and I think I promised you guys something else. Let's take a look at that too. Alright, by now some of you have probably realized that these two bikes use similar parts. Okay? And some of these parts I'm very, very proud of. And one of them that I've always stood behind is the OMB Warehouse torque converter riser plate. There's one on both of these bikes. And you could have one on your mini bike too. Over the next couple days, guys, I'm going to be doing a giveaway. And we're going to get somebody one of these torque converter plates directly from ombwarehouse.com. Well, guys, it's been a long day. A lot of work and some great action, because it's always a work in progress around here. Stay tuned for more. Have a good night, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.